One of the most common questions I get is, how do I make money with AI? Then you can use AI to deliver that service better, faster, more efficiently, probably with more value, and therefore you can deliver more of that service in less time and you can make more money.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Marketing Inc. I have got a really awesome guest with me today, Mr. Jonathan Mast. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to have a great conversation about AI.
Absolutely. So for those people that are watching or listening that maybe have not heard of you or not aware of what you do, why don't you bring them up to speed on who you are, what you do, and what brought you to this point in your life and career?
Well, I've spent most of my career in the digital marketing field, worked for a number of agencies, and then started my own in 2010. And in 2023 or 2022, I guess, decided that when ChatGPT came out with their interface, that it was very well suited for an ADD visionary entrepreneur like myself that had too many ideas and not enough time in the day. And we had grown our agency and done well at that point. It was time for me to step away. And so I talked to our leadership team, stepped away, and I started focusing on AI coaching, and helping people embrace AI because I believe it can help all of us save time and provide tons of value to people around us. And I just want to be that person to help everybody realize this is not some evil thing. It's also not some get rich quick thing, but it's an amazing tool to amplify our skill and experience.
You are 100% right. You know, when AI first came out, I was definitely I don't know if you'd call it a skeptic, but I was very concerned about the potential for the negative. You know, I think there's
absolutely
a lot of ways that AI can be used negatively, just like anything else in the world. Money is just a tool in the same way that AI is just a tool. But after really diving into it and seeing what it made possible, I felt like the benefits far outweighed any potential downsides. And the truth is, none of us can do anything to control what other people do with AI. All we can do is control what we do with AI. And so, you know, somebody like yourself that is encouraging people to use it ethically, to use it in a way that will provide a tremendous value to their life, to the lives of people around them. That's the name of the game right now. So why don't you tell us a little bit about some of the things that you are finding the most value in right now? What are your favorite AI tools that you're using? And let's dive into some real world use cases and applications.
I'd love to do that. Well, I'm probably the boring AI guy because I'm the one that says all those bright, shiny objects, the ones that get my attention, that I'm like, oh, cool app, I want to do that. Most of us, we don't need those.
Yeah.
Most of us just need to focus on ChatGPT. Maybe a good image tool is, I don't think DALL-E is a good image tool. Maybe so. I use Midjourney. I like that. And I'm a big fan of Perplexity, which is an AI-based search engine. Now, I use other tools in addition to that. And, last couple weeks ago, I was using DeepSeek and all these other great tools that are coming out. And I want my audience to know what that looks like and whether they should do them or not. But at the end of the day, I really believe, even for myself, most of the work that I do in ChatGPT. And I find, probably like you do, Allie, if you train it well, in other words, you tell it enough about yourself, your business, and your brand, it will do an absolutely stellar job at virtually anything you ask it to do.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. I'm actually coming out with a new offer. It's going to be like a lower ticket monthly membership called Online Profits AI. It's basically, a business and marketing course for people who are getting started, but the goal is to show them how to do things faster and easier with AI along the way. And I'm covering really like A to Z in a lot of different categories, and ChatGPT is by far the most used, the most recommended for every single thing that needs to be done. And, I like Claude a lot for things that are coding and technical related. But ChatGPT really is just tremendous in so many ways if you know how to use it. And one of my favorite things has just been building custom GPTs for anything and everything we possibly need a GPT for, being able to tie these different custom GPTs together using different tools as well. So I totally agree. I think it's incredibly powerful, and it's very easy to get distracted by these new shiny object tools. There are some cool ones out there. I think we should definitely talk about
Absolutely.
some of the image based tools that you really enjoy, maybe some video tools, things that can be used with ChatGPT, with Claude, with Perplexity to be able to accomplish
Mhm.
greater outcomes. But it's if you try and hop on the bandwagon for every single thing that comes out, you're either going to spend a lot of money trying out all these different tools that you probably don't need, but you're also going to waste time on not really diving into the true power that comes from just kind of doubling down on one or two of these tools to get really great end products. So let's talk a little bit about images. Images are not always the easiest for people to get the result that they're looking for. So, what has been your journey with really trying to understand and refine AI based images?
Well, I'm a huge fan of Midjourney and also of Flux. Those are the two image tools that I tend to use the most frequently. And I like them because they tend to reflect and deliver the style that I'm looking for on a consistent basis. I also like them because of their flexibility. I can get photorealistic images out of
Mhm.
both. I can get my favorite cartoon animated style out of both, but virtually anything I can dream up of from an artistic style, both of those platforms will produce very reliably. Now, the issue, as you probably well know as well, is those consistent images. And that's where it gets really hard because people are like, well, I found an image. It's great. How do I create this in different poses? And that's when we go from relatively straightforward to incredibly complex. And we throw in, candidly, a whole bunch of luck. Because
Mhm.
even in those cases when I've created consistent images, getting people to understand that if I want 8 consistent images that look the same, I'm probably going to create 80 images and throw away 72 of them to get there. And I think that's something that most people don't understand when they see people post this array of images and all these one image and looks the same. And it's this, it's a redhead like yourself and different poses and different this and everything's great. The face looks the same, but nobody tells them in the back end, I created 200 images in order to get these 10 that I used.
Yeah.
So I think, and that's still an anomaly because the AI image tools are programmed to build randomness in. They're not
Mhm.
programmed to be copy machines, and
Yeah.
that means that consistent imagery is hard. There are other great platforms, but those are the two, Flux and Midjourney, that I find to me are my go-to platforms for images.
Awesome. You're totally right. I think it's kind of the way that people approach business and social media anyway. Like you only see the finished product, the shiny, polished highlight reel, and you don't realize that it's not always as easy as people make it seem. But definitely you can get 80 images faster than it would take you to do a photo shoot, potentially to get all of those
Absolutely.
images. So still, like even with the hit or miss that you're going to end up with, can still be awesome. So let's talk about when you use Midjourney versus when you use Flux. Why do you feel like those two platforms have been the best for you based on the others that you may have tried? But really, how do you go deciding which one is best for the specific scenario that you're dealing with?
I generally use Midjourney if I don't want an image to be a consistent style. If I'm just looking to create, kind of going into my creative mode and I'm trying to create a new image or something like that, Midjourney is my go-to. It's simple, it's relatively fast, and again, it works consistently for me. I've got a lot of prompts that work well there that are kind of frameworks that I follow, and it works. I use Flux a lot when I'm looking to do what I would term as self-styled images. You mentioned like a virtual photo shoot. If I want
Mm-hmm.
to go out and do a photo shoot of myself, but I want to do it from my desk here in Alabama and not do it by traveling the world, I can train a LoRa model and then use Flux to create revisions or versions of me in virtually any scenario that I can dream up. And that I love for that. I also do that if I'm trying to get a particular style. So one of my favorite things to do is I take my trained LoRa that's trained on me with the white beard and the glasses and everything else, and now turn that into a 3D cartoon Pixar style with somebody with glasses and a beard and all that type of stuff. So if I'm just looking to create what I would call generic images that don't have to fit a style, I generally go to Midjourney. If I'm looking to say, okay, I've got a series of images and I want to recreate these or similar images, then creating a LoRa and using Flux, in my mind, is one of the best ways to do that and create that consistency that I'm looking for.
Awesome. So how would somebody who's never used Flux, who's never used Midjourney, how would they start to use these tools? How do they access them? What are the steps they might need to take to start really testing this out and trying this out?
Midjourney is the easiest because you can just go to their website nowadays at midjourney.com. If you watch any old videos, though, on YouTube to learn how to use it, it's probably important to note that Midjourney used to only work through Discord. And
Yep.
so a lot of those videos are going to be on Discord. The web version is now out. It's super easy to use. And virtually all of the things they taught about Discord work over in the web version. There's a few small differences, but it's pretty easy to get started with. It is a pay as you go, or a pay model. There's not a free option that I'm aware of, but I believe starts at about $6 a month and goes up from there. Flux is a little bit more difficult because Flux is actually designed as a model that can be downloaded, and there are lots and lots of, let's say, copycats out there because of that. And so I recommend, if you want to use Flux, go to blackforestlabs.ai. That's the developer behind Flux. And
Okay.
they have a series of, currently as we're recording, the 6 to 8 trusted partners that they recommend that you use that provide Flux in a hosted environment. And I like those because you can either pay a monthly fee or you can pay as you go, and those work super well. There are others out there that are not necessarily partnered with Black Forest Labs, and I've tried a couple of those, and most of those seem to be quite limited. There may be some that I haven't played with, but I do recommend, if you want to use Flux, go to Black Forest Labs, find one of their partners, use them, and in that way you're assured to get access to the best versions of the model. And it's quite easy to use once you start using it.
That's awesome. So I haven't used Flux itself. I use Magi, which is also, training on the LoRa model. And I've had
Exactly.
really good success. The challenge for me has been, and I'm still working on this, is I have a full sleeve of tattoos and
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't get my tattoos right every time. And so I'm just
Yes.
working on trying to take as many photos as I can that show my tattoos in every angle that I possibly can to try and get it as consistent as possible. I usually end up just putting myself in long sleeves, so I don't have to worry about it. But that, ultimately, most people aren't going to have that same challenge. But outside of that, it is just mind blowing what you can get. I showed these photos to my mom, and she's like, I cannot believe that that's not really you. And
Yeah.
for my last ad campaign, all of the images that I used were AI generated. And it was so great because I was able to get things I would never have been able to get in real life. I'm doing a Tesla giveaway for one of my campaigns, and I needed images that have me with a Tesla. And we could have photoshopped it in and stuff like that, but I was able to just get it through the image. And also really cool creative angles that you
Yes.
can't necessarily get otherwise. So I think it's so much fun once people really start playing with these tools to see how it can't just impact posting your headshot or profile photo. This can be used for your social content, for your ad content, for your thumbnails on YouTube. Being able to get like B-roll style images or clips is so crazy. So I think that's definitely something that more people need to start using, because I haven't run into a ton of people who are leveraging that as much as they could be to get the content that they're trying to create. So, in terms of videos, I know there's a lot that you can do with AI and video today. What are some of your favorite tools, use cases, or applications when it comes to leveraging AI with video content?
Well, I'm not a video editor, so let me begin by the fact that I may have a slightly different perspective. But as a
Yeah.
marketer and an AI
Mhm.
guy, I love what I've seen happening with Runway. There's another tool called Haper. There's one that's out there called Minimax, and there are probably 40 others I'm missing. Most notably, I'm leaving off Sora from ChatGPT. And while Sora does a decent job, I have not found that it's living up to the initial hype that we saw a year ago when it came out. Not that it's bad, it's just, in my mind, not as good as some of the other models. I think the key when it comes to video is reminding people that may not be in the video editing world. And again, I'm not there either, but it's these tools are not designed to create 20-minute feature length presentations. They're not even designed to create 2-minute videos. They're designed to create 8 to 10 second clips that then get stitched together to
Mhm.
create a story. And I think if you approach AI video from that perspective, you can probably use most of any of the tools that are out there. But keep in mind, the goal is to develop a story and then to develop those clips of, again, 6 to 10 seconds that are going to be used to be stitched together to create that. And for people that think, well, that seems weird, just go watch any TV show or any movie. And instead of watching it, just count the scene changes. And you will find that they change angles, camera shots, scenes, whatever, about every 6 to 8 seconds. And so that's what you're going to end up doing as you create some of those videos and put them together. But kind of like we talked earlier, so many of the videos that we see on social media with AI and that's that finished final product. And we're like, wow, that is so
Mhm.
cool. And we don't realize they probably spent 20 hours creating and editing and putting all that together to get a 2-minute clip that blows our mind.
Absolutely. I saw a music video. I think it was probably in your Facebook group that somebody shared not too long ago. And it was amazing, the quality.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess my question has always been with the character consistency. If you are trying to put together a real story with real consistent characters, how challenging would that actually be? Or is it as simple as, really getting something that is similar to how you would train the images to look like you and then being able to turn those images into clips and then stitch those clips together? So that's something that I've thought about several times, but I haven't tried to put together something like that yet. But I've seen some pretty amazing things. But you're right, it's not an instant thing, but that person who spent maybe 50 hours even putting
Oh, yeah.
together a music video, the question is, would they have been able to actually shoot that music video without AI? And the answer for most people is no. They don't have
Yeah.
that video equipment. They don't have those dancers and those actors and those
100%.
backgrounds. So it just makes things that are almost impossible for the average person totally possible, but it doesn't mean that there's not work and effort and skill that goes into it to be able to make that happen. So I think, like with anything, it's just practice makes perfect. And the
Mm-hmm.
more that you're immersing yourself in it, the easier it's going to be for you. And what I've tried to tell my team is like, use these tools for every single thing that you can. And as you start to see what's possible for you within your own day to day activities, your mind is going to be so much more open to the other things that you can do and the
Yes.
things that, I haven't handed you and said, here's your custom GPT for your position and here are these AI tools that you're using, but you'll start to create your own ideas and thoughts and solutions on these because you now know what is actually possible. And so, I mean, I think that is a great segue into kind of the next piece of this. You mentioned AI is not a get rich quick tool. A lot of
Mm.
people like to see it that way or believe that it is that way. And then there's a lot of marketers who, quite frankly, position it like
No
that.
question.
And so, what are your thoughts on this? The money making applications of AI itself, what it actually takes for somebody to shift into this space. If they want to start using AI to make money, what do you think are some of the best ways for someone to go about doing that?
Well, I really think it fits in with what you've just been talking about. AI makes things easier in so many ways, whether we're talking about video, as you just were, where again, I now have the ability to produce a video that I could have never probably done 2 years ago, and certainly didn't have the budget to put together 2 years ago. I now can do that. It's an easier button. And I think the same
Mhm.
thing applies when it comes to making money. It's not the Office Max easy button that we're all dreaming of and going, oh, I get to press a button and miraculously I have a business, miraculously I have a
Mhm.
video. But AI can absolutely help you amplify your business to make more money. But what I always encourage people to do, and as you mentioned, I've got a Facebook group that we talk about that. And one of the most common questions I get is, how do I make money with AI? Let me convert that into what I hear. What I read is, how do I plant an AI money tree in my backyard so I can sit and do nothing and make money?
Mhm.
That's not going to happen. But if you have a business model, you can find a problem that you can solve, a service that you can provide to somebody that's got money who's willing to pay you, could be an individual, a business, anybody else, but where they're willing to exchange their money for your service, then you can use AI to deliver that service better, faster, more efficiently, probably with more value, and
Mhm.
therefore you can deliver more of that service in less time and you can make more money. So AI is a tremendous amplifier, but in and of itself, again, ChatGPT this morning, if I don't do anything with it, if I don't ask it the right questions, it's not going to make me any money. And I can't just go, please come up with a business idea that'll make me lots of money while I sit on the sofa and eat bonbons. That isn't going to happen. But if you have a business idea, oh, what an incredible amplifier it is.
Yes, 100%. I just recently have finished all of the initial planning and the initial build of a new AI based software that I'm creating. And this software is going to be through AI. So ultimately,
Mm-hmm.
I'll end up making money from AI that's in the software and the AI tool that I helped develop this plan with. But it didn't just miraculously poof and appear. It took me probably at least 100 hours of prompting, straight prompting, not even
Exactly.
just checking here and there, to just get all of the details planned that were required. And that's not even counting the execution of it. However, I would have never, ever been able to do what I did without AI. Not only because
Exactly.
AI gives us these new opportunities for things that didn't previously exist, but it also expedites the learning curve. It expedites a lot of the technical details getting planned when you use it correctly. And I think that that was my biggest takeaway after going through that process was, why am I able to use this tool to do what I just did when most people really struggle just to get, like basic information from it? And
Mm-hmm.
so prompting becomes the key that unlocks all of these different opportunities. And so how do you approach prompting in a way that allows you to extract the maximum amount of value, or save the most time, or get to the end result that you're looking for faster? Is that something that you have a framework that you work from? Do you have sets of prompts that you like to use for different things? So let's kind of go into like what it takes to really excel at
Mm-hmm.
prompting, because the truth is that is where the magic lies for anything, whether it's making money,
Absolutely.
doing things faster. This is a skill that everybody needs to learn how to use, no matter what industry they're in, because this is how you use AI at its core. Whether it's photo, video, text based, you've got to know how to extract the result that you're looking for. So tell me about your prompting process and any tips that you might give someone who just doesn't really understand what good prompting looks like.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. In any relationship, whether it's in work or personal or anywhere else, communication is critical. And whether we want to admit it or not, while AI in my mind is not anywhere near being sentient, it still is a relationship that we have. We're having a relationship with our computer, and
Definitely.
that means we need to communicate with it effectively. I'm a huge proponent of using a prompt framework as opposed to a prompt list. Now, there's nothing wrong with prompt lists, and people love them, and they're great for inspiration. But when I'm in the middle of my workday and I need to create a prompt in order to achieve an objective, the last thing I want to do is grab this list of 300 or 700. I got someone the other day, 10,000 prompts that I could buy. Well, there may be
Yeah.
some things I can learn in there. We
Yeah.
also know
But
that
who wants to?
9,900 will be terrible, but that's all right.
Exactly.
But if I have a framework that I can use, then I can ask it and fit in any variable I need. I can get a great response. And so I do one. It's 4 steps. I call it the perfect prompt framework, and it's super easy. Tell ChatGPT or whatever model what type of expert it's supposed to act as. Number two, give it background. Allie, this is no different if you and I were working on a project. If I come to work with you on a project, and let's say, as you are, you're an expert at so much in digital marketing, and I say, I need a landing page for this, and I turn around and walk away. and I don't give you any more information, and you go, but Jonathan, what about it? And I go, oh, Allie, you're an expert. You figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
The chances of you creating a page that meets my objectives is almost zero, even though you've got tremendous skill and tremendous experience there. And the same is true with AI. We need to give it relevant contextual information to our prompt in order to get the best response. So if that's a landing page, as an example, I need to tell it what I'm trying to sell. I need to tell it who my audience is. I need to tell it what problems it's solving. And based upon that, it'll do a really good job of creating my landing page. Oh, I should add in what tone and style I want to use and things like that. Then we ask it a prompt. So step one, you're this type of expert. Step two, here's my context. Step three, here's my question. And in
Mm-hmm.
my mind, Allie, step four is probably the most important, maybe because I have ADD and I can't remember stuff. My wife says I can't remember, or I suffer from CRS, can't remember stuff. She uses a different word at the end. And that means that I often don't remember what things I should tell ChatGPT, like in the landing page. I maybe don't know what variables to tell it.
Mm-hmm.
So I end my prompts with, ask me any questions you have. That's it. But when you do that, now all of a sudden, ChatGPT or Claude or whatever model you're using will evaluate your request and go, well, Jonathan, you skipped 4 things that I really need to know.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll say, before I proceed, can you answer these 4 questions? And if I answer them, the responses that I get are absolutely staggering. They're amazing. But if I decide to be quick and simple, again, if I walked up to you and said, Allie, create a landing page for me and I'll see you tomorrow, the likelihood of that turning out is 0, just as the likelihood it is with ChatGPT if we don't communicate those 4 quick things.
I think that's amazing. So I definitely, I've kind of got my own prompting style and prompting framework, but you're exactly right. A list of prompts is almost useless in many situations because what someone here is trying to do versus someone over here, they're looking for different things. And while it may
Correct.
give you an idea of how you could structure it, who really has the time to look through a database of 10,000 prompts they could copy and paste? That almost takes way longer than it does to actually just write your own prompt and go through the process yourself. And so I like to call, what you described in terms of the background and the context, I call them my brain dump prompts. So I'll usually start
Absolutely.
off by defining, here is the outcome that I'm looking to achieve. And then I go into this brain dump of every relevant detail that I can possibly think of related to this thing. And they end up being really long. And so it's not like a copy and paste my prompt
Exactly.
framework, because it's so dependent on exactly what it is that you're trying to do. But if you can just
Yes.
think of it as, this is me just vomiting all of the information that I even
Yes.
think could be possibly relevant. Maybe it's not even relevant, but I'm going to just err on the side of caution and give you more than I think you need so that I can be sure that if that detail matters in some way, that it is tied into it. And I definitely find it makes the rest of the process so much easier because then you're not constantly having to correct for this background information that you could have just given it right at the very beginning. So I love that so much. What are some of your favorite kind of AI use cases that you've been utilizing, whether it's in your business, your personal life? What are some examples that people might be able to kind of get their wheels turning about ways in which they could use AI that maybe they're not considering, or maybe they are considering and they're just not sure how to go about it?
Well, I think probably the biggest game changer for me was started with this, my phone. And then the microphone that you see, of course, right here in front of me. And while it's not an exact prompt, I don't often use the voice mode of ChatGPT. In other words, where it's talking back to me, mainly because I'm
Mm-hmm.
too impatient and it takes too long. But what I do is I regularly talk to my AI models through using my microphone on my phone or in front of me. And like you said, it's kind of that brain vomit, but I get that opportunity to share all this relevant information. And as a result, the responses I get are mind blowing. One of my favorite uses is brainstorming. I am a quintessential ADD visionary entrepreneur, and I have more ideas before breakfast than probably many people do all day long.
Yeah.
And I love the ability to brainstorm with AI and come up with ideas. Whether that's a new course that I'm offering, whether that's a new idea that I've got and I'm trying to flush it out, whether it's this brainstorm about, hey, what about if we did this? I love the ability to literally just have a conversation with ChatGPT, with Claude, with whatever model I want, and I will record that using my mic, and I'll then let it give me text back. I'll read that, and then I'll give it my follow-up again with my voice. And that workflow I find works incredibly well, whether I'm creating landing pages, whether I'm writing an email, whether I'm anything that I'm doing across the board. I probably, like you, I'm guessing, write hundreds of prompts a day. I use it for all kinds of things. This morning, I had an email I needed to write to introduce a client of mine to one of my partners. I can do that. I've written hundreds of those, but it was faster and easier to just talk to ChatGPT and said, I need to introduce Mike to Ken, and here's what they're looking for. Please write the email. And literally in 30 seconds, it was written better than I would have written it in 5 minutes. I respect my partner. I respect my client. I want to do that and make it great. But now I was able to do that in literally about 1/10 of the time that I could have earlier. That same happens. I do use it for copy all the time when I'm creating copy for email campaigns. I just wrapped up some video scripts. I don't normally read off a teleprompter, but these were specific style and a specific way that I wanted to. And I used them using my tone and style and what it knows about me, Jonathan, to make sure that it sounded like me, to create those video scripts, throw them up on my teleprompter and do that. There's all kinds of ways, even simple things that we run into with clients and customer support. We get a regular feedback on, hey, this is a regular issue we get. In our case, it's people putting in the wrong email when they buy one of our courses, and then
Yep.
they can't get anything because they put the wrong email in. You've probably never experienced that with the volume that you do.
Yep.
I'm kidding, by the way. But, so we now have standard responses that can do that. The other area that I find really valuable, I'm a small team. We've got 5 of us total. And so my team has access to some of the custom trained GPTs that we've created, and in fact, most of them. But the one that I love for my assistant is she has access to the Jonathan GPT, and it's trained on my tone and my style, how I'm going to word things, my attitude towards things. We've trained it over a year with various things. And now she can go in and respond to so much of my communication. She doesn't do it as me, she does it as her, but she can now use that GPT to write and reflect and get things that she needs to respond to in seconds. And that's made her tons more productive, which means she's adding more value. And she just told me this morning how incredible she loves that tool, because she's never had that in any of her other positions before, and how much easier it makes that drudgery of sometimes just going through email and going through IMs and all that, and dealing with the hundreds and hundreds of those that come in every day. So there's lots of things, but again, writing emails and brainstorming are probably the 2 most popular for me.
Yeah. And I think that really is the key sometimes. Is it's not that you have to create anything revolutionary with AI necessarily. It is the ability for you to take your time back, for your team to take their time back, still get everything that needs to be done. But if you're cutting your workload or your team's workload into 1/10 of what it previously was, how much more time do you now have to dive into things that maybe have been on the to-do list for forever, and you just haven't had a dedicated person for it, or you've never been able to find the time for it? And then you can use AI for a lot of those things too, to just keep making everything you're doing just this massive impact, even with a really small team. And so I think that is kind of the thing that most people need to do, is just start trying to use it for everything, even the little things, the daily things, the things that you may not even consider how helpful this could be for you. And then see how much time you end up getting back. And then what you do with that time can also be a way to make more money. If you have the free time to now either start another business, or focus on big picture ways to grow your existing business, or do more volume because you have more fulfillment time for whatever it is that you're doing. Those are all great ways for anybody to be able to leverage this. So I know you mentioned your Facebook group. If people want to learn more about you, how you can help them, or the Facebook group, where can they go to find you?
Best way is just remember my name, Jonathan Mast, and go to jonathanmast.com/linktree. I've got my contact information, free resources, my Facebook group being one of them. Super simple. So jonathanmast.com/linktree.
Awesome. I love it. Well, thank you so much for being here with me today. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode, and I will see you back on the next one. Bye-bye.